Hey everybody, it's Kate. We are back for, I think this is going to be part 4 now of our Tilda doll series. We are moving right along, and today we're going to be doing some stuffing. I'm going to stuff this doll some. So I've got some parts of my doll stuffed already. So there's one of her little arms. Here's another one. So that's done. But I wanted to show you a couple of things just about how to stuff the doll in such a way as to make her skin look smooth and to avoid some kind of common stuffing pitfalls, if you will. So I thought what I'd do is show you kind of how I do this. So I take me a big hunk of my stuffing, and I've just, like I said in the supplies video, I got this regular old fiber fill here. Nothing special. You can get this at the Walmart. And it comes in a pretty big, I think this is like a 16-ounce bag, and you won't need anywhere near that much, so you could definitely get a smaller bag. So I take a hunk about this size, and then I pull it apart into little bitty pieces, and I just spread those pieces out along my happen to be working on my ironing board here because desk space is at a premium in this craft room, so I'm on my ironing board here. So what I wanted to show you is a couple of different things. So here I am stuffing the body and head of the doll. So what I've done is, obviously I've turned up, turned partially back inside out so that I could stuff it easier, and I'm just kind of working my way from the top of her head down. And the best way to do this, as far as I'm concerned, is to go with really small pieces. You can't get in a rush. It's pretty tedious. This part of doll making is sort of aggravating to me because I just want to stuff big hunks of stuffing in there and be done. But you could do that, but it's going to look lumpy. So I use my very favorite tool here, and I just grab me up some little stuffing and place it in the doll. So what I do for the head, because I want the head to be stuffed pretty firmly, because we're going to use felting needles to felt her hair into place. And then also you want her neck to be pretty firm, because you don't want her little neck to be flopping around. And the firmer you stuff it without going overboard, the better results you're going to have. And so to me, the best way to do that, I kind of started layering the stuffing in, just a few pieces in the top of her head, and then I go in, I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but I go inside and then work it just like this, so that what I've got is a cavity in the center of her head, so that I'm stuffing from the center, and it helps to fill out the shape of the head when you're stuffing. So I hope that makes sense. So I take my little piece of stuffing, stuff it in there, and then work my hemostats around. So I think, yeah, you can kind of see that from the outside. And so then when I take my next piece of stuffing, I'm going right into that cavern that I just created. And so that you're feeling it from the inside, instead of like shoving a piece of stuffing up in here and then turn around and shoving a piece of stuffing up in here and then here. I hope that makes sense. And then the other thing I wanted to show you was stuffing the legs down to the knee joint, because you're going to stuff up to a point that you mark with your little pattern. So you take your pattern and you place it back on the little leg, and there's going to be a spot for the knee there. So I just made a tiny little blue mark. I don't even know that you'll be able to see that. Yeah, there's my little mark. And this is a erasable, with water marker. And then I sewed across it. So what you want to do is stuff the foot pretty tough. It's stuffed pretty firm. And then it gets less and less firm until we reach this point right here, because we want her leg to bend at the knee. If you stuff it too full, her knee's not going to bend. And same goes for after you sew across it. If you stuff it too full right here, her knee's going to be up like this instead of, she won't sit nicely on a shelf if you overstuff this. The same can be said for the body, for the bottom part of the body. You're going to stuff it down to, let's say, this point here before you attach the legs, once we get those stuffed. So this part of the leg and this part of the body cannot be stuffed too full, because if it is, then when you go to set your doll up, she's just going to lay back down on you if you stuff it too full. So I hope that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is just show you how I'm going to stuff the leg here up to the knee, and then we'll move to the sewing machine and I'll show you how I seam the little knee area. So I'm getting all my little pieces, and I'm talking like a little small piece like this, especially for the legs or the arms, because this is such a small little, you know, foot in here. So I'm just going to take my little piece, and I'm not even really going to push it all the way to the end, and I'm certainly not going to shove it in there. So here's another little piece, piece number 2. So I'm going to stuff that down in there. So I'm not really stuffing it all. I mean, I've got stuffing from this point of the foot all the way down to here just from those 2 pieces. So I've not like pushed them down into the toe of the foot yet. So here's another little piece. So now I'm going to start stuffing them a little more. And so the motion I use with my hemostats, I kind of grab the stuffing and then push. And then grab some more and push. So I'm like this. I hope that makes sense. I can't show you from the inside of the, obviously, from the inside of the doll. So now that I've got a fair amount of stuffing down in the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and start pushing it into the bottom of her foot. But again, not all of it. So I've still got stuffing up to about this point here, just from my little pieces. And if you go ahead and put your little, take your little pieces and spread them out in front of you on your work surface, wherever that is, it'll make it faster because you can just grab them up with your hemostats. Did I mention I love these hemostats? They're my very favorite thing. Yeah, so for me, this part's kind of, okay, now I'm going to like actually start really like stuffing the foot because I want to see some firmness in it. So that's pretty good. And then if you've got too much, you really don't want little hard balls of stuffing in there. I don't know if y'all seen Irina's Tilda doll tutorial here on YouTube. If you just search for Tilda doll tutorial, it's going to come up. Her name is Irina, and I want to say she's a passion for craft is the name of her channel. She's got a really excellent tutorial, and she talks about how to stuff, and she's got a really great method for stuffing, definitely. But what you're trying to avoid is creating hard little balls of stuffing, because it's gonna make your doll look bumpy in the end if you do that. Okay, let me stop talking and keep stuffing here. So I didn't get quite enough little, there we go, got some more over here. And so yeah, so you just keep on keeping on until you like the shape, and then you just kind of squeeze it along, and see there's a little spot right there that I don't really like, so I'm gonna kind of manipulate that around. That's why these hemostats are so awesome. And so I've got some little stuffing clean on up to the knee now, so I'm gonna start pushing it down in there. There's some more. So this part's a little tedious, y'all. I'm sorry, but I want you to see how you end up at the knee and then what you do. Okay, so now that this part of the leg is getting a little thicker, I'm going to start doing that thing where I make the cavity again. So that when I'm stuffing now, I'm stuffing down into the middle of her little leg as opposed to around the sides. Because again, that's just going to create bumps. And you don't want her to look all bumpy. You want her to look nice and smooth. See, and I've got a little place right there that I don't like the way it... Oops, sorry. I'm off. It's hard to stuff a baby doll. There's a little place right here where I feel like doesn't have quite enough stuffing, so I'm going to just go in and use my hemostats to kind of adjust it. Okay, now. And so I've got a little place where I feel like a ball's forming here, so I'm just going to squeeze it with my hemostats and pull a little bit. Okay, so let me make me some more little balls. Okay, so you get the point. So what I'm going to do is just keep stuffing until I get up pretty close to my little blue mark there, and I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, we are back at the sewing machine. I'm going to go ahead and apologize for the lighting. In order to make the lighting better, I'd need to turn off or take the bulb out of my sewing machine, and I'd rather not do that, because if I turn my machine on, see how the lighting kind of looks better when I don't, and then now look at it. Sorry y'all, it's just the nature of the beast today. So I've got my little doll leg here stuffed up to my little mark on my knee. The stuffing's kind of loose right here towards the end, so I'm going to start here, sew here down to the end, and we're going to take a couple of reverse stitches here because we want to reinforce that seam, and we want to be pretty careful when we're sewing this because this seam's going to be totally visible to anybody that looks at her legs. So we want it to look pretty nice if we can. So a couple of notes about how I've got my sewing machine set. I've still got my stitch length on about a 2 because I'm liking that right now. I've also taken my regular 1/4 inch foot off, and I am using a zipper foot. If you can see it here, I'll take it off so you can see. So this is a zipper foot that came with my machine. I like it because I can either set the needle here or set the needle here depending on the way I want to turn the doll. Because if I was to use this big old, like a big foot, it would like mash into the area that I'm trying to stuff, and I don't want that to happen. I want to be able to ride right across, right up close to the stuffing here, if that makes sense. So let me get my foot back on my machine here. Okay. So here we go. Let's see what we can get done. And I've actually got my sewing machine set up in front of my other sewing machine. I don't know if you can see it back there. You see that blue back there? That's my other sewing machine because I'm too lazy to switch it around. So I've just taken, I'm trying to find my mark here. I made it a little difficult for myself. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I don't like the way that's set up, so I'm going to go on and switch my foot. Okay, here we go. So I'm just going to take about 3 stitches. I'm going to put my sewing machine in reverse and take 3 stitches back. Back out of reverse, and then I'm going to sew across. Okay, now I'm to the edge. I'm going to go back 3 stitches. And then right off the side there. And then hopefully, well, if I can get the leg out of the sewing machine here. And of course, I don't have my scissors. Like Amador says, I'm not prepared. Okay. All right, so there we go. Got it sewed up. So to test it, I'm just going to squeeze right here and see if I can see how it's nice and floppy. You want it to be a little floppy anyway. Okay, so I'm going to go back and stuff the rest of my leggies here and stuff the rest of my bodies, and we'll be back, and hopefully today we can get the legs attached to the body. Okay, we're back at the sewing machine. Let me show you what I got going on so far. So I've got the tops of the legs stuffed, and I've got her body partially stuffed. There's a pretty goodly amount of room in there. Goodly's a new word. Okay, so what I've done, this is the front of her body, and this is the back of her legs that you're seeing here on top. So what we're going to do is sew the legs onto the front of the body. And then when we've got them sewed on there, we're going to flip them out and then do this seam in the back here by hand. So I hope that makes sense. So we're looking at the backs of her legs right now and the front of her body. So what I've done is taken and try to match up these 2 seams right here, this edge seam and then this edge seam of the body. And I'm going to sew right across here, and then if I can get it the way I want it to show y'all, and then I'm going to just keep on sewing right across, and I'm going to attempt to match up this edge seam with this body edge seam here. So this part can be a little tedious. Sometimes if I don't get it the way I like it the first time, I'll pull it back out. Like I've said before, sewing is not permanent. That's why we've got seam rippers. So if you don't like a seam, yank it out and go again. So I'm going to stretch my stitch length just a little bit longer on this, just to make things easier on myself. And I want you to notice the way I've got the pins oriented, because I'm going to start sewing here. I want to be able to pull the pin out this way. So I didn't put the head of the pin facing the other direction. I put it here so I can pull it out. So I'm again, oops, sorry y'all. I'm again going to use the zipper foot on my machine. And I'm hoping, this is never, to me this is kind of more difficult to do. And I may even pull the arm off my sewing machine here. Let's have a look and see if that makes it easier. So this, for me, just lifts off. So just, you know, play with your machine and see what works better for you. So I'm going to meet those two seams right there. And again, I'm going to use something in the neighborhood of a 1/4 inch seam allowance here. And then let's see, I'm going to back it up just a little bit. And this is going to be another time where we are going to sew a little bit, reverse, sew a little bit, reverse, because we want our legs to be on there nice and sturdy. Okay, let's see if this is going to work here. What we want to make sure we don't do is accidentally sew this seam into our deal here. So this part's kind of, it's a little on the tricky side. So you just have to work it until you can get it right. And you don't have to sew all in one continuous seam. You sew a little bit, you switch things around a little bit, you sew a little bit, you switch things around a little bit. That's just how it works. So here we go. I'm going to reverse a little bit. And again, I'm going, you know, nice and slow here. There's no huge rush. We're making a baby doll. Nobody's going to, you know, it's not an emergency situation here. So I'm just going to make sure things are lining up. I'm going to sew a little bit more. Okay, so my pin is kind of backing itself out sort of naturally, so I'm just going to keep working with that. Okay, so let's make sure that we're not sewing the bottom of the baby doll in. We're not, so that looks good. I'm just going to keep sewing and keep on adjusting here. There I go, sticking my pin in my mouth again. Sorry, y'all. It's just habit. Okay. Let me have a feel underneath here. Yeah, we're doing good. Okay, here we go. All right. I'm going to do a little reversing on that first leg there. Okay. Now we're ready to move on, start sewing the second leg on. So let's see. I'm going to come down here to the end and try to make sure that these seams right here are lined up. And then I'm going to kind of mash it down there and see if I can get it under my presser foot a little bit. So you see what I'm doing. I'm just kind of working it. I mean, the best advice I can give for this kind of thing is get to know your sewing machine, really. Just sew anything you can find. Get you a little quilt pattern and sew that. Get you a little pattern for something else and sew that. Just get to know your sewing machine. That'll make this whole thing a lot easier. Okay. So we're looking pretty good so far, but the truth will come when we actually flip the legs out and see how they look. So I'm trying to meet that seam up right there. One more stitch, and then I'm going to reverse. Alright, so let's pull it out of the sewing machine and see what we got going here. Okay, so we managed to keep our little butt seam here out of the fray, so that was good. That actually looks pretty good from the back there. Let's flip it to the front and see how the front looks. Not too bad, not too shabby. So I wish you could feel this. Stupid, I know, but so the leg is stuffed pretty firm at this point, but right here, not so much. You know, it's pretty thin there, and I want it to be that way because, again, when I set my doll up, I want her to actually sit. I don't want her to slide. You know, you try to sit her up and she just slides back off. So now I'm going to go and do some more stuffing in the little butt area here. And I think that's probably enough video today. We're close to 20 minutes, and I want to kind of try to keep them at a manageable length for people. So that will be about it for today. So I want to say thank you so much for joining me. On the next video, we'll start by seaming her little butt seam here. So I'll show you how to make some pretty little hand stitching there. And then we'll go ahead and try to get her arms attached and just move forward from there. So we're getting pretty close. It's starting to look like a doll now. So, yay! And just as a reminder, I got this super gorgeous Tilda fabric from Tracy over at artattacksupplies.com. I'll leave a link in the description box below. So I'd really appreciate it if you're enjoying these videos, if you'd let me know. Leave me a comment. I'd appreciate it if you take a minute to subscribe. That, you know, just lets me know if you want to see some more, you know, sewing videos. I'm really thinking about doing like a very beginner seamstress video thing, like maybe do like a little table runner or something of that nature if you're just very beginning in sewing, because I don't know, I think sewing's, it's a lot of fun. It's a good skill to have. I mean, you can do anything from curtains to dolls to clothes to whatever you want. So yeah, I really want to encourage women to sew. I think it's important. It's an important skill to have, I think. So yeah, let me know what you think, and I really appreciate you watching, and I hope you're having a really great weekend. Okay, bye.